A very warm welcome to you, and thank you so much for joining our Homeopathy 24/7 podcast. We are going to be speaking to an array of international guests who will share their knowledge and experiences of homeopathy with you. We will discuss all types of subjects such as remedies, symptoms, and stories of health. No matter where you are with your homeopathic journey, we aim to inspire you on your quest to natural health and living. The podcast is brought to you by Greensmith, the founder of Homeopathy 24/7, which is a global platform connecting you with a homeopath wherever you are in the world, 24 hours a day. So let's get started with today's chat. Please welcome Mary Greensmith.
Hello, welcome. I'm here today to talk about finding the right remedy. So with homeopathy, there's a lot of homeopathy that you can be doing at home yourself with your family. But the most difficult thing is finding the right remedy. So today we're going to be talking about why it's difficult, why we need to do what we do, why homeopaths say what they say, just so that you're understanding exactly how the homeopathy works and how it's different from mainstream medicine. It's really important that you make sure that you're understanding why we're asking for certain things, because homeopathy is very, very different than mainstream medicine. As you know, we have lots of Facebook groups which help you to find the right remedy when you're looking at using homeopathy. But here's the problem. Everybody says, okay, I've got this symptom, what do I need to take? And homeopaths are really left with a challenge now, because homeopathy is all about personalised prescribing. So depending on how you feel your symptoms, depending on how you experience your symptoms, will indicate a different remedy. There's no remedy, one remedy for your symptoms. There are lots of remedies. So it's very, very different than mainstream medicine. And when you're learning about homeopathy, this is what you're learning. You're learning about how to collect the right information in order to find the right remedy. We've got over 5,000 remedies. It's a huge, huge medicine. With acute prescribing, we generally tell you about 100 remedies, maybe a few more, and then you will be understanding that there are lots of different types of remedy that are used in different practical methods. So this video today is helping you with your acute symptoms and what you need to find the right remedy. So what do I mean by acute symptoms? It's those symptoms that have been with you for less than a couple of weeks. Now, you might be saying that, well, actually, yes, this time it is less than a couple of weeks, but it happened last month or it happened 2 months ago, and it's a recurring pattern. And obviously what this means is we've got a flare-up of a chronic issue. So we will be having a look at what a flare-up is, what a chronic issue is, just so that you're understanding. But I want to get you started really on finding the right remedy. What's the most important thing for you to be doing, for you to be collecting in order to find the right remedy? So first of all, whatever you're doing with homeopathy, you will see that homeopaths are asking you to always find multiple symptoms. Now you might say, yes, but he's just got a cold. Well, what's the cold like? Well, it's like a cold. That's not enough information. We want to know how easy it is to blow the nose. We want to know whether mucus is dripping out of the nose. We want to know whether the eyes are itching or the eyes are running. We want to know whether there's pressure in the sinuses. We want to know whether there's thirst, whether there's any sore throat. We want to know if the ears are hurting. We want to know every aspect of the symptoms around the cold in order to find the right remedy. And the reason for this is that remedies are used for a collection of symptoms, and each remedy has a whole pile of symptoms. And what we're going to do is collect your symptoms and find perhaps the 10 remedies that have all of your symptoms in there, and then choose the one that's most appropriate for you. And the way that we can do that is using the physical symptoms and the emotional symptoms as well. That is, how do you feel about this? What happens? What does it stop you doing? So we're going to go through all of those aspects in order to help you find those 5 really important symptoms so that you can find the right remedy. So what we're quite often asking for is, first of all, location. Where is it based, the symptom that you have? Extension, where does it go? Does it go downwards? Does it go upwards? Does it go out or in? Modalities, what makes it better and what makes it worse? So coming in from outside, does that make it better or worse? Morning, evening, when do you notice the symptoms at their worst and when are they at their least? This is the type of things that we need to know in order to find the remedy that best suits you and your symptoms. So we're looking at the modalities. We're looking at, does drinking help it? Is hot drinks better than cold drinks? Does being outside in the wind help, or does it make it worse? Did your symptoms come on fast or did they come on slowly? All of this information helps us find the remedy that's indicated, and we'll be looking at some key notes of some of the remedies so that you can see how they are really used to help find the right remedy. And the ones just coming into my mind as I was saying those symptoms, first of all, Pulsatilla is always better outside, worse when coming inside. Aconite is onset with wind and very fast onset of symptoms. Podium is a remedy which comes on between 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. Arsenicum is a remedy always worse at night, usually wakes up between 1 and 3 a.m. in the morning. So you can see that all of the different remedies have lots of different modalities that are really going to help hone in to the remedy that suits you. Bryonia is a remedy that we always say is worse for movement. You must keep really still and you don't move because actually when you move it hurts. So that's quite often a bryonia symptom. Other symptoms, perhaps better for movement, is rustox, and that is a remedy that we use quite a lot for muscles and joints, that sort of thing. So you wake up really stiff and then it gets better as you're walking. So we go through the different modalities, the way that you experience your symptoms, when you experience them, what makes them better and worse, and that really helps us hone in. The other things that we're looking for are concomitants, and they are the other symptoms that are happening at the same time. Let me give you an example. You might find that it's really painful on your feet when you get out of bed in the morning. And strangely enough, what's happening is at the moment, I'm finding that my knees are really clicking, or my joints, finger joints, are clicking much more than they would normally. So it's another symptom that may seem unrelated, but it's happening at the same time, and we can put that in the mix, and that really helps funnel down the remedies so that we can get the one that is right for you. And the one last thing that we're always looking for is what is strange, rare, and peculiar. And the reason we love our strange, rare, and peculiar symptoms is because it really narrows the field. So let's think of a couple of examples for you of strange, rare, and peculiar symptoms. So one symptom that you might find is somebody who loves salt with everything, actually pinches salt from the table. And that we know is really indicated for Nat Muir. Another symptom might be that when they get thirsty, there's a lot of saliva in the mouth, and of copious amounts of saliva are formed. And that would indicate a remedy such as Merc Viv or Merc Sol. So it really does help us, again, funnel those remedies down into the remedy that's right for you. Whenever you are looking at finding a remedy, you need to be collecting all of this information. So it might be as well to make yourself a little prompt, a reminder to look for all of these symptoms. When you go onto a Facebook group, don't just say my child has got a cold and has had it for 2 weeks. We know that you haven't done enough self-prescribing when you come and say that. We know that we have to help you learn how to collect all of those different aspects of the symptom in order to have a helpful answer. Now, this is where we get stuck on Facebook because, of course, the groups there, everybody really wants to help and they say, well, this helped me and that remedy helped me. And so it's very difficult then because we know that it might help one person, but that person might feel the symptoms in a very different way than you feel it. When you speak to a homeopath, they will often say, well, imagine I don't know what anxiety is, for instance. So explain to me what happens to your body and what is going on in your mind when you feel this anxiety. And the same occurs for your physical symptoms. So we get used to asking more probing questions about that pain. Pain is a terrible thing. We've never been asked to explain, well, what does the pain feel like? Well, I don't know, it's just a pain. But it's not just a pain. You might feel it in a certain way. And the words that you use are really important. The words that you use are what have been recorded in the repertories so that we can find the right remedy. So this is really bizarre and strange compared to Western medicine, because what I'm actually saying is if you tell me that it feels like you're stabbing a red hot poker through my chest, then that has been recorded and those words might well be in the repertory to point to a particular remedy. So for you to be as expressive as you possibly can is an absolute luxury for a homeopath because it really, really helps them to hone in on those specific remedies. So what we're hoping that you will learn from this is that you can be more explicit with how you word your symptoms, how you explain your symptoms, how you feel your symptoms. We want to know exactly what happens to you. So if you've got that red hot poker stabbing in your abdomen area, does it feel as if it's being squeezed? Does it feel as if it's being rotated? Does it feel as if it's being stabbed repeatedly? All of these explanations have been recorded and are in our repertory. So if we have a look in a repertory, we can see the types of things that people have said in the past. I've just opened my repertory here it's on chest, on pain. So let's have a look at some of the different things that people have said. First of all, we've got a pressing pain, a pulsating pain, a raw pain, a rasping pain, a rawness of the sternum, a rheumatic pain, a pain roughness on coughing. So that's for the chest area. A scraping pain. So a scratching pain. What else have we got? And a very sensitiveness, and a shaking during coughing. We've got a sharp pain. Gosh, sharp pain has got over 200 remedies. So this just explains that we want to get more information. You can see how much more information is going to really help us again hone down those remedies. So we've got a sharp pain where breathing aggravates. So actually the process of intake and outtake of breath will be aggravating. And then, of course, we've got lots of sub-rubrics from there. So rubrics is the word that homeopaths use for the symptom that they're going to look up in the book, and that's going to point to lots of remedies. And then we're going to have another symptom. We're going to look that one up, and we're going to match which symptom is in both. And we're going to do that for 5 or 6 symptoms, sorry. And then hopefully we will again put all those remedies in the funnel, and we'll come out with just a few that we can then look up. So this is my repertory. This is Murphy's. This is quite a big book, and this is taken from lots of other repertories as well. Homeopaths, I do have a fixation with all of the homeopathic books, and you'll find that there are lots of them. So when we have honed down to 4 or 5 different remedies, we will then look in a Materia Medica, and in the Materia Medica, each remedy has got all of the information that's been recorded from previous cases and from the provings of the remedies. And that is how we get a full picture. Now, when we put together an ebook to help you find certain remedies for coughs, or an ebook to help you find certain remedies for rheumatoid arthritis, we are just taking a little fraction of the information from all of our Materia Medicas, and I've got about 20, and I do have a computer program as well, and we put just the remedies which are most commonly used and found in those areas. So when you look at the Homeopathy at Home app, you'll see that there are just little paragraphs that are relating to the cough, or relating to the nose, or relating to the mouth. And it is just a small fraction. So if you are still unsure, having used these abbreviated resources, then perhaps you need to look up, and we have got a whole set of resources where you can look up online for full Materia Medica information. So we will put some more information about those links for you later. But what we're doing, obviously, is finding the details of the symptoms in order to hone in on the remedy that suits you. And one very vital aspect of doing that is understanding your feelings and emotions, because this is what makes you experience your symptoms very differently from the next person. So what I'm saying is, if 5 people come to me with a headache, they're all going to have a completely different remedy. And that's because not only will they experience the headache in different areas, and it'll happen at different times of day, or it'll be onset by different eventualities. What I'm also saying is what they are experiencing emotionally will be indicating the best suited remedy for them. So how do you feel about the symptoms? It makes me really angry. That would be one set of remedies. Or it makes me feel really weak and feeble, and I just want to go to bed, and I just want to close my eyes, and I don't want to be part of this world at the moment. That would be a completely different set of remedies. If it makes you really irritable and bad-tempered, and you can't stand any noise, then that would be a completely different set of remedies again. So your emotions, your feelings about your symptoms are a really important aspect to help us again hone down on those remedies. And we would be taking quite a lot of weight will be put on the fact that how you feel about the symptoms. That information will be used and will indicate to us that that is where we have to start. We have to go into that set of remedies for this. Another aspect that we take into consideration all of the time is your character, why you react the way that you react. You know that siblings who are brought up with the same parents, have the same experiences, often have completely different characters. And the way that you are will often focus how you experience different symptoms. So for instance, if you are a really tidy person, when you are ill, you're much more likely to be irritated by mess around you. But if you are an untidy person and you're not really worried about there being things everywhere, then you're not going to be as upset when things are out of order and not being done. But you might find that you're the type of person that gets really irritated by people. and the things that people say. You might find that your interactions with others change when you are ill. You might find that there are certain things that you like and dislike, and when you're ill, they are severely heightened. So this is very important information and often helps us choose between certain remedies. So let me explain a couple of remedies which have very strong personality types. So first of all, tidiness. We think of Arsenicum. Arsenicum album is for the person who is always well dressed, always very well presented, and the house is immaculate. My sister's very Arsenicum, and I don't think she would mind me saying it because it's something she'd be very proud of if I said that her house is so tidy that, you know, when she's burning candles, they have to all burn at the same level. Otherwise, it doesn't look right because, you know, one's quite right. When she's sitting watching TV, if she's got a pile of logs by the side of the wood burning stove, the logs have to be in a certain pattern and order. And if they're sticking out wrong, she'll get up and go and fix it. I have had a client once come in and wanted to reorder my books in my bookshelf because they weren't colour coordinated, and it upset her to sit and look at it. And immediately that gives me a really brilliant idea of what is going to irritate her, what she spends her time doing, as opposed to a more sulphur person. Now, my son is very sulphur, and this is very relaxed about life, would turns up to any job interview in jeans and t-shirts because he's already decided that he's got this job, so he doesn't really need to, you know, they have to accept him as he is because that's what he is. And if they're not going to accept him as he is, then it's obviously the wrong job. And why would he want to change and pretend to be something else? A sort of an arrogant way of being with the rest of the world because what he says is right for him, and it doesn't really matter what anybody else's opinion is. Whereas somebody like a Pulsatilla person would really be wanting approval all of the time. And they are quite manipulating in the language that they use in order to get you to agree to what they want and how they want it and when they want it. They're very good at organising everybody in the family to be giving them what they need whenever they need something. So it's always interesting to see. A pulsatilla person is somebody who will want you to be close. They're very touchy-feely. They like to be on top of you. If they're children, they might be worried when you leave the house, and they certainly have a fear of abandonment, so they might not be happy playing in another room on their own. So you can see that each remedy has a different character, and that again helps us draw in to where we need to go. So understanding all of these things, and you can see that your character is not going to change drastically. So that you might find that there's a remedy that really helps you over 20 years. Because that is your constitution, that is how you are, and that remedy always helps just balance you. And of course, that what is health? You know, we're talking about being balanced, we're talking about being in flow, we're talking about being comfortable with the world around us, fitting in and not being anxious with different aspects of life. Health is obviously not one goal. It's a whole line, and you can be anywhere along this line of health and at any one stage. And we tend to move a little bit along the line. Learning about homeopathy is really interesting because it really helps you learn a lot more about how you're reacting to life around you. What is important for you? The important aspects of your life. What is it that you do, that you enjoy doing? What is it that makes you smile? The more that you learn about homeopathy, the more that you learn about yourself, your body, your emotions, and your reactions. And when you speak to a homeopath, obviously, what you're after is, why do you react the way that you react? How do you react emotionally and physically? That's what we're after. And this is your opportunity to learn a whole lot more about you and yourself. And it really is the opportunity to open up a whole new world of what is your world and what is it you want from your world. So this is why once we start studying homeopathy, it's very difficult to stop. The more that we realize, my goodness, this is so personalized, this is so me, then we realize that homeopathy starts coming into every aspect of our life. And and then eventually you become a homeopath and do the training, and because it is so encompassing, it is such an amazing form of medicine, because it is all about learning about yourself. And it's absolutely fascinating. So let's go through now what we do once we've collected all of the symptoms that we possibly can, and we've got a list of remedies that possibly could be remedies that are right for you and your symptoms. What we've got to do, obviously, is go through more information about the remedies and find the one that feels right, find the one that sounds right, find the one that fits the character as well as the symptoms. So, for instance, if you are looking at coughing and sneezing, a general cold, and you can't decide between Arsenicum album and Cali B and Pulsatilla, then what we're going to do is look at the characters in for the patient to decide, okay, well, let's start with that, because actually that really suits the person. So we talked about the difference between Pulsatilla and Arsenicum and Sulphur, but we didn't mention Cali B, and that's because Cali B doesn't really have much of a character. It's not used an awful lot for the emotional sides of the Materia Medica. So what I'm saying is that we've got some remedies that are much stronger personalities than other remedies, which are much stronger for a physical symptom. And this is how and why so many remedies are very different from each other. Some remedies have very small picture and are only used for very occasionally for a very particular symptom. And other remedies have a huge picture, and we use them quite a lot for many, many different things. So the remedies which have a huge picture, we call them Polycrests. And there are about 50 remedies that we use as Polycrests. And these are the main remedies that you'll find in a first aid kit. And the reason why they're Polycrests is because they've been used absolutely loads of times, loads of different things. We've got loads of information about these remedies, and they've got a big picture that covers a whole variety of different symptoms. We know that Pulsatilla has helped people with fear of abandonment. It's helped people with UTIs. It's helped people with ongoing colds and coughs. It's just a huge remedy. It's one of the best remedies for earache. It's always going to be useful, and it should always be in people's houses. And so knowing the Polycrests are really important. And when you have a look at the app or any of your first aid homeopathy books, it will be listing the Polycrests. So the remedies which have a much larger picture and have been used a lot more for acute prescribing. And then you get remedies which are used for, as I say, one particular symptom that is very rare. And these are not the type of remedies that you'll be buying to keep in your first aid kit and use for your family, unless you have that particular symptom and nothing else works, and that remedy works for you. So what I'm saying here is, when you start with a first aid kit, when you start with a homeopathy kit, then it will have a lot of remedies that are going to be useful for you, but it will not have all of the remedies that are useful for you and your family. but it will be a really good starting point. But as you get to know homeopathy, you will bring in other aspects, other symptoms, other things that are particular to you, and you'll just only need them very occasionally. But what I was talking about there was a remedy that is very much a physical symptom remedy, not an emotional remedy. And we've got quite a few of these physical symptom remedies, which still are polycrests, which still are used every day in acute prescribing. And Cali B is a huge one. It's lots of mucus, it's flowing mucus, it's stringy mucus. Anything that produces a lot of mucus, we'd think about Cali B. We'd consider it in our funnel for the remedies to go in. Another one we might say is Allium cepa, and that is made from the onion. And again, it's another nose, mucus, sneezing remedy, runny eyes as well. If you think of all of the symptoms that you get when you cut up an onion, that is Allium cepa, and Allium cepa can just clear it. It's amazing. It's a very particular remedy for that picture, but it doesn't have a huge personality or constitutional aspect, but you are still going to need it in some instances when your physical symptoms really indicate that that is the remedy for you to try. So let's now talk about potency and dose, because it's really important that you're understanding which one you're going to give and how many times you're going to give it and when you're going to change for another remedy. So first of all, let's talk about most of your first aid kits come in a 30C. And the reason for this is 30C is a really good potency for a lot of different indications. It's the most commonly used for acute prescribing and some constitutional prescribing as well. And it suits both physical and emotional symptoms, and it's really used a lot. So most of your kits will start in a 30C. Now, you will also see kits in a 200, and this is for high intensity symptoms. And when I say high intensity, think of the energy of the symptom. Is the energy slow or is it fast? And then we can consider that actually we might consider a higher potency. But what I would advise is you buy your first kit in 30C, and then you decide if there are any particular remedies you need in a higher potency. You will see that some remedies are more often used in a higher potency, and you'll see that as you go. But let's start with giving for acute a 30C remedy. Now, if the energy is high, for instance, a burn, if somebody has burnt themselves, it's a real high intensity, high energy, and it means that you're going to need to give the remedy more frequently. Now, usually what we'd say is you can give the remedy up to 3 or 4 times. After that period, you might need to either change the remedy or go up in potency. So for a burn, we might do 30C in a burn type remedy, so something like Cantharis, maybe Apis if it's blistering, maybe Belladonna because it's that throbbing, hot, burning sensation. And we might give it every 15 or 20 minutes for 3 or 4 doses. After that time, we need to reevaluate and see, 1, if it's still the right remedy is needed, or 2, we need to go up in potency. So how do you decide that information? Let's have a look. So when you give a remedy, there are a number of things that might happen. 1, nothing happens, nothing changes. 2, the symptoms might go away and then they might come back again. 3, the symptoms go away and don't come back. Or 4, a new symptom appears. So out of those 4 aspects, first of all, if nothing happens, we can repeat the remedy and see if, just make sure if that was a well indicated remedy, just try it again before you decide whether that worked or not. If after 2 doses absolutely nothing has happened, you need to go back and find a more suitable remedy. Try the other one on your list because you had lots of remedies going into your funnel. What else was in the funnel that could have been considered? 2, the symptom went away and came back. Now, when this happens, give the same remedy in the same potency again. And if the same thing happens again, you need to go up in potency. So the remedy's working, but it's not quite high potency enough. Or 3, the symptom goes away. Good result. The symptom goes away, then no further doses are needed. If a new symptom arises, you need to retake the case, find the funnel of remedies, and decide which remedy is suitable for that new symptom. Now, this is a good time to actually talk about what is happening with healing, because our bodies self-heal. Our bodies, when they're balanced, can mend and rebalance itself. If our bodies are already mending and self-healing and balancing, we don't need a remedy. If we feel that our bodies need a helping hand, then we give a remedy. So what I'm saying here is remedies are not always needed. If your healing is going in the right direction and your body is coping, leave it, let it do its job. Because in actual fact, homeopathy doesn't heal you. It just acts as a catalyst, making sure that your self-healing system is working, is balanced. It gets you back on track. So if your body needs a boost, take a remedy. If your body's doing the job itself, then a remedy is not going to help because it's already doing that. And when we give a remedy, we're asking the body to change its reaction, to react in a different way. So we mustn't keep giving a remedy. If we keep giving a remedy, we're going to keep changing what the body's doing, and we don't want to do that. All we want to do is make sure that the remedy is acting as a catalyst and getting the body to self-heal and self-regulate and balance. If we then give the remedy again and give it again and give it again, we're going to really upset our system because our system's going to say, well, hey, what do you want me to do now? And that's when new symptoms might start arising. Also, you might find that old symptoms reappear. And this is a really interesting aspect because old symptoms reappearing indicate that you have got issues that haven't been dealt with in the past. And when you take a remedy and the old symptom reappears, perhaps for an hour, perhaps for 2 hours, perhaps for a day or 2 days, sometimes even longer, the body then rebalances and regulates and sorts it out itself. And by sorting it out, it can get rid of it. So what I'm saying is traumas and experiences of the past and illness and disease from the past quite often are pushed down inside us. Quite often, mainstream medicine that is so set on getting rid of the symptom, it's actually suppressing the symptom down into our system. And we see this a lot with eczema going into asthma. And as a child, you might have had eczema and been given steroids, and the steroids just push the eczema into the body, but it's still there. It hasn't been sorted. And so what happens is it comes out as asthma. And then what happens is we're given steroids and it pushes it back in. But then what happens later in life is we get rheumatoid arthritis. And then we're given, guess what? Steroids, and it pushes it back in. And, you know, the cycle just goes on and on. When you take a homeopathic remedy, for rheumatoid arthritis, you might find that somebody experiences asthma that they might have had 20, 30, 40 or 50 years ago. But it sorts itself out and it goes away. If you give another remedy, they might then get a little bit of eczema, something that they had before they had asthma, and that comes out of the body, and then the body has dealt with it. And this is how we go through the layers of health. Imagine what made you where you are now. It was everything that you inherited, and there might have been some susceptibilities with that. When you were born, you inherited some weaknesses from your parents. The genes weren't perfect. And then, of course, nature and nurture all indicate how you resolved health as you grew up. And with homeopathy, we're actually looking at all of the aspects of what makes you you. So with your first aid prescribing, you're dealing with the symptoms that you're dealing with now. But as we mentioned before, some of those are actually flares of a chronic issue. Some of those are recurring issues that you're so susceptible to getting cystitis, or you're so susceptible to getting tonsillitis. We know that there's something deeper, much deeper amiss, and that needs to come up. So those first aid remedies are going to help with those symptoms that you've got now. But what you should perhaps be looking at is long-term chronic homeopathic treatment in order to help regulate those inherited susceptibilities, help strengthen your foundations of health, and go back through the layers of health to go back to the original cause of imbalance. So understanding all of this about homeopathy is such a huge, huge topic. And as you know, once you start learning about it, you're just going to be enthralled and want to learn more and more. So what I'm going to introduce you to now is our homeopathy course, because you can't learn how to do homeopathy in just an hour or two. Our Homeopathy at Home course is a 6-month program which takes you through all of the aspects that we've been discussing today, and it helps you learn with videos, with printouts, with Materia, Medica, so that you can create your own books, and with recording books, prescribing books, reminders, tips, a little bit about the history, a little bit about why we do what we do, and lots of other aspects of this. So each week you will receive a video, a lesson, a printout, Materia Medica, and some exercises to help you learn and practice about the remedies. We cover the top 50 remedies and all of the aspects about that. And also we split the course up into different diagnosis and different areas of symptoms so that you can categorize your remedies for different areas. We talk about constitutional prescribing. We talk about miasmatic prescribing. That is the inherited susceptibilities and dealing with those aspects of being born with some weaknesses and how we can strengthen those. We talk about the history of homeopathy. We talk about collecting the symptoms. We talk about recording your prescriptions and those helpful tips in order to remember to ask certain questions, to get more information, to be able to put those remedies into your funnel. We also have a look at prescribing for your animals. We have a look at prescribing for babies and how to find the right remedies when our children actually can't talk to us and tell us what is really upsetting them. We look at remedies for the elderly. We look at palliative care. We look at different elements that you're going to come across with everybody that you talk to about homeopathy. And the main reason for this is so that you can be more confident in your prescribing as you go. Now, this course is for people who have been using homeopathy for a year or two, and it's also for newbies, for people who are new to the whole aspects of personal prescribing and the wonders of how homeopathy can help. Have a look at what's happening in the course. You can click through, you can see all of the different categories that come up for each week, and you can see that there's a really good offer on for you today if you want to book the course. The great thing about having a course that you can do a little bit each week is that you have time to practice and absorb some of the information, go back and redo it. This course, though, we find video is not enough, because when you actually need it, you need something that you can go to and actually read, that's on your desk, that's in your bookcase, that you can remind yourself, because there's so much information, you're not going to learn it and be able to know every aspect of a remedy. You're always going to need to look things up. So the good part about this course is that you've got printouts that you can have and look at any time, exactly when you need to, and you need that additional help. So it's a really good opportunity for you to have something in the house to encourage you to start doing a regular learning and in a controlled manner, because otherwise, as you know, with the Facebook groups, it's so wide, it's so diverse, you're dotting from one thing to the other, and too much information is very, very confusing, and you don't know what is good information and not. So use this as a starting point. Use this to get some good groundwork and some solid foundations for your homeopathic learning. I look forward to seeing you in the course. I hope you found that useful as a general introduction to using homeopathy at home. And next week we will be talking to Dr. Anthony De Pontis, and we'll be talking about autoimmunity, autoimmune diseases, homeopathy, general health, what's happening, why it's so much more prevalent now than it was years ago, and what is actually changing. Of course, the great thing about homeopathy is that we learn so much more about our symptoms and what is happening. So we will be looking at how do we address the cause of autoimmune disease. Really, really interesting topic. And I look forward to seeing you there. Take care. I do hope you've enjoyed these episodes, and I do hope you can subscribe to our channels. Now, there are various ways for you to listen to our podcast or watch it on video on YouTube. So whether it's iTunes, Spotify, or YouTube, please do subscribe, and please do leave us a review. If you leave us a review on these platforms, then more people will see our podcast. We just want more people to share the joy of homeopathy. It's a choice that everybody should know about. Please do everything you can to help us help more people.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode and look forward to listening to our next one. Please don't forget to follow our podcast on your chosen channel, and please do leave us a review so we can continue to share homeopathy with as many people as possible. If you do have any questions, please do reach out to us on any of our social platforms mentioned in the show notes. We at Homeopathy 24/7 hope to empower you on your natural health journey.